All right, team, we're back for another week. Welcome to If You Have Feelings, where we talk about emotions like they actually matter because, hi, guess what? They do. No bullshit around here, just talking about real conversations. And I'm so stoked today because I have my dear friend, like truly in life, dear friend, Alex Harrison on. And so this could be slightly unhinged, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be really dope. So, Alex, will you introduce yourself? Like, let the world know who you are, why you are, all the things.
Sure. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Alex Harrison. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and I'm a therapist. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. And I have been doing work with couples and families really for the better part of the last 15 years in treatment facilities and then in private practice. And that's really what my passion is. That's what I like to do the most. Because I believe in like the healing power of family and the life enriching part of family when it's working. So I'm really committed to working on making them better. So I do that in my private practice. And I also do coaching on a national level, specifically around blended families. I'm part of a blended family myself.
Love.
And so it's pretty near and dear to my heart.
Can you define blended family for people that may not know like what that is?
Yes, a blended family is a recoupling of people on the other side of either divorce or the passing of a former spouse. So what it can look like a lot of different configurations. It can, oh man, there's like so much jargon in the blended family world, which is niche enough as it is, right?
That's fair. I'll call you out on the jargon. Don't worry.
Yeah, please do. So a blended family can look like one partner that already has kids and one partner that doesn't have any kids of their own. We call it a double blended family if both partners are coming into the situation. Oh my God,
there is jargon. I didn't know that double blended. I'm so sorry. I had like a double blended family, iced and with oat milk, please. Like that's what it said.
Push up my invisible glasses now because that is nerdy as hell. But here we are. And so, and this can also mean like kids of all ages and all developmental levels, right? I mean, a lot of people think of, blended families as like having like small school age kids, but it can also very much be adult children, or a mix of both. And then
that's me.
Indeed.
Yes.
And then there's the yours, mine, and ours blended families, which is both parents or both members of the couple come into the marriage with kids of their own and then have a child or more together.
Just that makes sense. Yours, mine, and ours. So basically, unless like it almost seems like it's better to describe blended families about like everything other than like two people that have come together that are having a child for the first time together.
Sure.
Like anything else.
First time families is what we call that crew.
First time families.
Yeah. First time.
Like a first time home buyer.
People have also used the phrase next time families, but I have a lot of issues with that. That does not sit well with me from either a therapeutic framework or just like personally. I don't like to be like my next husband. Like I've got others waiting in the wings.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, fair. That's really valid. Next time family, that's gross. Okay, so you are yourself a part of a blended duo situation.
Yes. Yeah, I'll tell my story. Would that be helpful?
Yeah. I obviously know your story, but like the rest of everyone doesn't. So
so I got married really young. I was 22 when I got married for the first time.
Just a baby.
Yeah, I was. And we were married for 15 years. A lot of those years were really good years, actually. Mm-hmm. And I had 2 daughters from that marriage. And then on the other side of getting divorced, I single parented for a couple years, re-entered dating in my late 30s, which was just an absolute clown show. Literally.
Yeah, that sounds kind of horrific.
It was kind of horrific. I mean, it was a who's who of dysfunction on being on a swiping level. But it was also actually really fun for me in a lot of ways because I didn't date much in my early 20s since I was married by the time I was 22. So
Fair.
it was, for a little while, it was a little like a kid in a candy shop, and then it became exhausting. And then I really needed to work on and wanted to find a partner. That was always the end goal. And then after I took a trip with our mutual colleague and friend, Emily, to Costa Rica, I had made a promise to myself, like, all right, I'm stopping dating. I'm not doing this anymore. I need to take a break. I need to work on myself. I need to just focus on parenting. And I did like the thing that lots of people do, which is like open the dating app one last time to see, just before I delete it forever.
Just in case.
And there was Jack sitting right at the very top of the deck of men and Match. And he had long hair and he's playing a slide guitar. And I'm like, maybe I'll just message this guy because he seems interesting. And our first date, we sat across from each other with ordering the exact same cheeseburger off the menu and drank beers and talked for like 5 hours and shut down Sloan's Tavern Burger.
Shit.
And we just talked so much, and I knew in my gut, I'm like, oh, this is going to be something. And we did what lots and lots of people do in second marriages, which is move extremely quickly.
Okay.
And entirely too quickly and against all clinical recommendation. But here we are. We moved in together and blended our families just inside of a year of meeting.
I always forget that. I consistently, I forget how quickly, because he has kids.
He does. He has.
So you're a double blend.
That's correct. And when I met his boys, my girls were in elementary school and middle school, and his boys had just turned 2 and just turned 4.
Oh, that's such a big gap of ages.
I mean, there was like a kid who on one end wants to like go out with friends alone and wander the mean streets of Denver. And then on the other hand, we've got a kid who we're like actively diapering. So it was and continues to be a little chaotic. And now at this point, our kids are 19, 13, 9, and 7. Mm-hmm. So we've been together for 5 years.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's truly insane. I cannot imagine what it would be like to blend families together, like with kid, like the kid aspect, right? Because I can imagine still hard, right? And grief is kind of our emotion of the day here, and a lot of grief around your previous marriage and that experience. But then I kind of imagine it like you're a little bit in a bubble as you're building this new relationship, and then oh shit, yeah, I have kids, and like the experience that they're going through of their parents not together anymore, and now there's a new human involved, and there's also kids that they have, and like it just messy.
It is messy. And one of the things that I focus a lot on with the families that I work with, the couples that I work with, and also adult children who are working through their parents remarrying, is the idea that for the couple that is getting together, they are in love, they are excited. Yeah. They, for a lot of them, feel seen and appreciated and are feeling great connection for the first time, maybe in decades.
Yeah.
But that joy and that within that new union actually comes with a series of losses for their kids.
Yeah.
It's the loss of the idea that kids, even adult kids, have, that their parents like might actually get back together. Like seeing their parents remarried is the representation of like, oh, this is real. It's actually my parents are not together anymore. Yeah. It represents the loss of the time that kids had with their parents when they were single parenting them, which a lot of times is like really deeply connected
Oh, that's so
time.
interesting. I've never thought about that aspect. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It can be, in some ways, it's kind of reparative because, I mean, think about it. The chaos that's happening in the family unit before parents get divorced is real. Kids are
Yeah.
experiencing a lot of tension, a
Yeah.
lot of felt conflict. A lot of times parents, couples, one or both members of the couple start to kind of like move away from the home and responsibilities and like, well, hey, if you don't want to go to couples counseling with me, if we're not going to work on this, I'm just going to go lean into my hobby. I'm just going to go lean into my work life for a while, and distance gets created. It's hard. And then, I can say this, even for myself, those couple years that I was single parenting were actually pretty sweet. I mean, in a lot of ways, the kids would come home, we would make dinner together and hang out and watch The Office. And, even if it was like Trader Joe's, like frozen dinners and like, lay around with their heads in my lap and I'm playing with their hair. And it was just like close and lovely and tight. So you can imagine that my kids definitely had a lot of feelings when all of a sudden there's somebody else's hair that I want to play with. Yeah. Sitting on the couch. Right. Like it's that sudden, that's right.
This is because Jack has a lot of hair.
He does have a lot of hair. He's a salt and pepper god. Just thick, luscious. Wait, it's only, what is it? It's 9:15 in the morning.
Yep. Ugh, we're going there.
I clearly miss him.
Buckle up.
What was I saying? Yeah. The losses, right?
Yeah.
So it's the loss of the magical thinking my parents are going to get back together. It's the loss of the really focused time that kids were reclaiming with their parents. Even if you're an adult, after your parents get divorced, sometimes parents are, they're more available. They have more bandwidth. All of a sudden we're going hiking with my mom or dad, or like we're getting together for brunch and we're really hanging out and it's lovely. And then all of a sudden that time completely gets divided again with the entrance of this person that I'm just over the moon about.
We're so like behind the scenes, because people aren't seeing this, they're hearing this. Alex and I are just making knowingly like smirks at each other because I literally am like going through this right now. And you have heard the entire saga of my parents splitting up and my, dad finding someone, my mom at one point finding someone. Like you've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly around this. And so you're just talking and I'm like, yep, felt that one. Yep, felt that. It sucks. And I'm 30 years old and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like I cannot imagine being, 12, 13, whatever, and doing this or going through that. Like
it's really hard. I mean, I'll speak to like the youngness first, and then we can maybe come back to the piece around adults and their parents when they're recoupling, because that's a whole thing too. I have a really specific memory. Like I said, I did date for a couple years before I met Jack, and we remarried, and I dated one person in particular for a year. And after about 4 months, I felt like, okay, if we're going to continue to invest in this relationship, we need to start bringing the kids around you to see. He was a person who had never been married and didn't have kids of his own. And I really needed to see, does this guy really want to be around kids? Does he want to step parent? Is this part of his vision of the future? So, we had probably, I think, retrospectively, would I have done it differently? Yes. I did what I thought was right at the time, which is like have him come over for a quick dinner, or we'd like, go shopping together or go out to lunch or something like really casual and time limited. And the kids started to get to know him on a very light level that way. And then we jumped straight into, hey, why don't you join us in the annual family campout that we do with my friends and their kids in the mountains? Because my friends already knew him. we all would play music together and hang out. And isn't that lovely? And we all get together, it's like 3 other couples and their kids at this campsite. So why don't we just bring him along? Well, I had no idea really that I was absolutely violating something that felt sacred to my kids. My youngest daughter, not so much on her radar, but my middle school daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, she was pissed.
Yeah.
And I remember,
I get it.
Yeah. And, it wasn't that he and I were being affectionate with one another. We weren't. He actually kind of isolated during the camp trip. It was a little odd. And that was one of the moments where I'm like, I don't think he likes this that much. I don't think he actually wants to be around a lot of kids and be in my world. So on one end, we gathered a lot of data from information from that trip.
A lot of data really quick.
But on the other hand, the drive home with me and the girls in the car, my 13-year-old unleashed on me. She was so angry and betrayed and was crying and was like, why did you have to bring him? Why would you do that? And, because for her, again, it's that idea of like anything my mom is trying to build still feels like losses for me.
Fuck.
And so, and there's no amount of me as a conscientious mom and as a therapist who's trying her level best. I am still absolutely going to mess this up and create difficulty and pain for my kids, even as I'm trying my best to do the opposite. Right. Yeah. And so, the whole formation process is just fraught. And I getting into this piece around grief. I was thinking about it quite a bit. Because the truth is, like, my husband, Jack, and I, we acknowledge the ongoing presence of grief, even though we are 5 years in. Yeah. Every year has been better than the last. Yeah. We have done a lot of hard work to let the components of all the people in our blended family kind of like move at their own pace. We have allowed room to slow down. We really feel good right now and we love each other. I love this man so much and he is absolutely my partner.
Cute and gross.
And I know. He's not going to want to hear this. He's going to get nauseous. Anyway,
no, probably.
But the truth is, all of that is true. And sometimes we will sit with our cup of coffee on a Saturday morning when we have no kids in the house and we are simultaneously loving having the space to connect. And then we'll still acknowledge, like, there's just a little bit of brokenness here. Yeah. Because in some ways it's like, it would have been really nice if both our first marriages had just worked, which is also a really weird thing to hold of like, I love you so fiercely. I am so glad we are together. And like, it would have been nice to not have that brokenness as part of our story or something that we essentially had to allow our kids to bear. Yeah.
That is wild to sit in that space with another human and like, damn, just the ability to hold that and not have the other person be like, well, wait, but do you still love me? Like, yeah, of course I love you. And like, yeah, of course I would sit here and wish that, I didn't get divorced.
Yeah. And let me be clear. There have been times, those moments where we're just sitting in our wisest mind and our, our second consciousness together.
Grounded self.
Those are moments. We also have moments where he feels anxious because he hasn't seen the kids in a while, and he starts to lament. And if I'm feeling not particularly secure, if I'm like tired and, just not in the place to like hold that balance, I can take it personally. Yeah. And take on and have these weird little narrative moments that come into my mind of like, is he just saying that he doesn't actually he's negating our life together and he wishes we weren't even, and like, no, that's not the case. And
it would be so easy to go there though.
so
I
easy to go
mean,
there. Well, and
yeah.
I do think that, as I work with blended family couples, for couples that are really new, we've got
Mm-hmm.
folks that are really anxious. There's so much riding on a second marriage working
Yeah.
out. There's so much pressure that people are, emotionally distressed a lot. And it takes a lot of work to learn how to call ourselves back into a
Yeah.
calm place, look at the big picture, see what is working in the relationship and not create
Mm.
narratives that
Fuck.
really paint our partner in a negative frame every time there's a misstep, you know?
That's hard. That would
It
be
is
hard.
hard.
It just sounds like a lot of work. Like at the end of the day. Like it just
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of fucking effort. And I mean, I would say most things in life are a lot of effort, especially when it comes to emotions and not letting emotions like totally rule us in our lives. It just
It is a lot of effort. There's no question about that. But all relationships, all
yeah, fair
good,
point.
truly intimate, connected partnerships involve the acceptance of the presence of pain. There is just no
Yeah,
getting around that. And I think
yeah,
about it, grief is so funny in the sense that sometimes it is absolutely in the forefront, right? It's
yeah.
over, it's loud, it's right there front and center. Um, but sometimes it's not. I was in Salida a couple weeks ago visiting a friend, and it was so hot outside. And we got some inner tubes and went out to the reservoir out there and just floated. Me and my friend and my 13-year-old, we went, it was like a little girls' weekend. It was great.
Cute.
And we're sitting with our butts in the water, just chatting and looking at the gorgeous scenery around us. And the water in like the first 8 inches of the reservoir was like bath water. It was like warm and
Oh,
cozy and amazing. But any lower than that first 8 inches, it was cold.
that's so interesting.
And
Yeah, I
that's
mean
how
that's
I feel about like this
uh
dynamic of like grief as this undercurrent emotion is like we can be experiencing like the warmth and the joy and the redemption and the healing that comes with a
holy
great blended
shit.
family situation or in a great new partnership, and acknowledge that like there is still the presence of this cold undercurrent that is uncomfortable,
Yeah,
and but it's just as valid and just as there as that upper part of the water that's like all warm and cozy, right? And so our challenge, I think, is like, do we want to allow ourselves to fully acknowledge and dip down
mhm.
into that? Because
Fuck.
maybe there's something valuable there.
Yeah,
Or are we going to resist it, try to ignore it,
yeah,
and avoid it because it's just uncomfortable? And there's that worry that like touching it might mean now things are going to get out of control, or now
yeah,
things are going to get, all the good will be
right.
negated. And I don't think that's true. But um, grief is weird like that. And it's not going anywhere.
That
Right.
okay, did you think of that metaphor ahead of time or did that just come to you? That was fucking beautiful.
I was thinking about it yesterday as I was looking at these questions, and I was just like, ugh, it's just always there. It's this extra kind of unpleasantness that like
That
is the
that is
contrast.
such a
Yeah.
beautiful, especially like if you're a Colorado human or
Mm-hmm.
exists in a place where there is spring or like runoff basically in
Mm-hmm.
the rivers. Like
Yeah. Every
I've
body of
I've felt
water is like
that.
glacial melt water.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have the like initial like, oh, this feels nice. And you're like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's cold.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
what
This metaphor doesn't work where I'm from in South Carolina, where even like
no.
the biggest lakes are like 85 degrees, 20 feet deep.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Doesn't work there. I gotta
yeah.
come to
But
Colorado
anyway,
to experience it. Okay,
but
so what happens if you like don't if you like continue to resist and not acknowledge the grief around divorce and blended families? Like what the fuck happens?
well, I think it depends on, your position in the family, right? I mean, I think
Mm,
if
fair point.
you are a parent, if you're not acknowledging your kids' grief, then you are showing up as this parent that is kind of, I don't know, like Maria from The Sound of Musicking everything, like trying to make every day a song. And
that
is that a thing? And, you know, like, let's, you know, I'll give you an example. And I guess this is a personal example. We had spent our first, second years as a blended family, just like doing a lot of adjusting, a lot of troubleshooting. We finally entered into our third year as a blended family, and we're like, Jack and I were like, oh my gosh, everything is calm. We're going to have a great year. We're just going to be able to sit and like enjoy each other. Like nothing's happening. And then literally within 2 weeks, both of our ex-partners announced to us that each one of them and their partners were going to have babies. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it was great. So each of our sets of children, my girls were about to get a new brother in their dad's house, and the boys were going to get a new brother in their mom's house. These children were born within a month of each other, like almost 2 years ago. So it's wild, as you say.
Fucking
wild.
That's wild.
What was so hard for me as a mom was to watch how at my girl's house, and I just want to say, again, two things are true. Their father, my ex-husband, is in fact a good dad. He has shown up more as a dad since we've been divorced, as a present, available dad than before we were divorced. So credit to him for that. Like, he absolutely stepped up. He and I are extremely cooperative in how we move together with parenting the girls. Like, it is overall a great relationship. I will say though, there was an emotional miss when it came to announcing that he and his wife were going to have a baby. Our soon to be senior in high school daughter was pretty devastated by that and felt it as a loss. She worried that like, she's not going to ever really know her half brother, that she's going to be forgotten about. She's going to leave and be replaced essentially as she leaves for college. This new baby brother is coming in. And, he really did not have the ability to acknowledge that that was a loss for her. Yeah. It was very much a, why can't you just be happy for us? Don't be so selfish. And, you know, I'm saying that not to out him, but to give an example of something that I am here to tell you happens all the time. Yeah. There is this, blinders, right? Like even the most well-designed car can have terrible blind spots, right? Right. Yeah. Of like, I don't see that, like how our joy would not be felt by everybody in this household. Right. So if we're not acknowledging our kids' grief, we are, you know, invalidating their feelings. We're really creating a distance and a rupture of disconnection, which every relationship goes through. But the issue is, if you don't see it as a rupture, then how are we going to get to repair? Because that's how intimate relationships really work, right? It's like constant connection, disconnection, repair. We got to see that there is in fact a rupture to fix. So, you know, if you're a parent and you're not acknowledging the grief for your kids, that's a real problem. If you are a kid that is struggling to acknowledge your own grief because you feel like you need to show up in a certain way to your parents or to your step parents, or you just have a hard time feeling those feelings for yourself, it builds. Like, you know, we know what happens when we just decide that, like, to negate and invalidate our own inner experience. I mean, it manifests, it's going to come out in other ways. You're going to leak it out. It's just the question of how and when.
Yes. Right. And it's messy. That I did not, I'm having such a weird experience right now.
Say more about that.
Well, get out of here, fucking therapist. I love it. This is so weird. Okay. So for like the, you know, humans to kind of know my story. So, my dad was previously married before he met my mom, and he had 4 boys, my brothers. they've always just been my brothers, right? Like technically they're my half brothers, but like they're my brothers. I love them dearly. They're incredible. But they're all much older than me. The youngest of them is 8 years older than me. And then it goes up from there. But I'm having this weird experience of what it must have felt like for them when I came along.
Mm-hmm. How old were your brothers when you were born?
So they were, 8. Was that? Yeah. So because, yeah. Okay. Timeline. I got this. Yeah. Because when my parents got together, the youngest was 4. Mm-hmm. And then I came along 4 years later. So 8, the twins had to been 10, and then the oldest was 12. So like young, but old enough to like have, well, of course you have feelings no matter how old you are, but you like have context, kind of understand.
Oh yeah, it's different. Happening. The younger you are when these changes happen, the easier it is. I mean, my boys, my stepsons, you know, the idea of getting a new brother has hit them very, very differently than it did for my emerging adult daughter.
Damn. That's just like, I've never really like asked them about what that was. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations recently.
You should have a conversation over Thanksgiving. Why not?
Probably.
What could go wrong?
You know what? As long as we have tequila, we'll be okay. Oh, healthy family.
Like that instead, is that just in the gravy boat? Anyway, sorry. It's like for a therapist, I'm being very deflecting.
Right? I love that for you. Look at you being human.
So you are, thinking about your own experience of like what that transition must have been like, and wondering if there was any grief around it. Yeah.
That's fucking wild. And I mean, I know they like loved me. Like they do talk about like when I was like a baby, like how much they like loved me and were excited. And I forget what it's called, but when I was like 1, I got a really bad fever and I like started to have a seizure from it. Oh my gosh. And they had to like call an ambulance, and my brothers will talk about that. They like remember that, and they like will talk about like how terrified they were. Which is crazy. It's just I don't know. I've just never thought about that before.
Yeah. The family dynamics are complicated, and they're ongoing because families are this like living, breathing, changing entity. And so there's always going to be new opportunities for grief, you know? Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I had a moment of grief, like when I took my oldest to college orientation last summer, and they separated off the parents and the kids, which is totally appropriate, and let the kids like, you know, go to special things during the day and see dorm rooms and whatever. And at the end of the day, I came back together with her and I was like, oh my gosh, how was the day? Like, are you anxious? Are you excited? And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, you know what I'm just so excited about? Like, it's really dawning on me. I'm not going to have to move my stuff around anymore. All my stuff's going to be in one room all the time, week in, week out. And it just, it just burrowed its way into the recesses of my marshmallow heart in a way that it was rough. And it was that moment of like, again, two things can be very true, you know, and I'm not just like putting words in her mouth. Like she has said this to me, like, I really like both houses. Like I love my dad's house. I love my mom's house. I get different things that are both good and different things that are both not so great from both houses. But overall, both homes are like a safe space. And wow, I am still sad about like having to feel the presence of brokenness. Right? Yeah.
God damn. You just get run over by a fucking dump truck. Jesus. Right.
Well, and then it's like my job as a mom to figure out, how do I hold that? You know, my first response might be to like defend how good both houses were and like, come on, it wasn't so bad, and try to silver lining it for her and basically like smush it down because like I don't want to feel those feelings.
Yeah.
Or can I? And in that moment, you know, that was like one of my better self moments of being able to just like hang with her in the grief. We were walking across campus and be like, yeah, you're so right. That you're right. I'm glad that you're going to have that too. Like it's about time.
Damn.
It's about
That
time.
the ability to hold that, I'm like amazed at you, honestly, right now. Like just the ability. You're like, I'm sorry, what? No, that's the ability for you to just hold that, like standing ovation.
Thanks.
Truly.
Thanks.
Like
I mean,
that's
what
incredible.
we're called to do, right? As parents, that's what we're called to do, is we are called to hold our kids' really complicated emotions without taking it as a personal assault on us and our character and how we raise them. And I think like have the humility to recognize that like we're both doing the best we can with the information that we have.
Right.
And we are just going to make mistakes because like we're, you know, I mean, you can read all the parenting books you want, but like essentially we're all like raw dogging parenting. I just want to say like I 100% feel like it is the riskiest move that I've ever made in my life. Also the most fun and worthwhile.
Fuck.
But still, like, we don't know what we're doing. We are doing our best not knowing what we're doing.
That's
100%.
fair.
And
like,
I feel the same way with marriage, both the first and the second time around. I feel like I'm doing better this time. This time.
Nice.
And it's hard.
Well, because you can't, I mean, with like a parenting book, that I love the idea. Again, we've talked about this. I'm baby crazy. I want a child tomorrow. I think about parenting every day.
I am so pro.
But like, I have to remind myself a lot because I have the inclination of like, okay, I'm going to read all the parenting books.
No.
Which, okay, I could, but they don't apply to my child or my family. Like which is, I think, why every kid, every human is different. And you can't just slap on a single method.
No, but I do think that, you know, and this is where the work that I do, but also the work that Feelings Found does is profoundly important, is that really like secure attachment and emotional attunement is the simplest, most non-academic. Yes. You don't have to read books. You don't have to create flashcards. Like, you know, you don't have to create a bunch of daily affirmations around this. Like just learning to make room for like acknowledging your own emotions, making room for them is neither good nor bad, but simply there as a practice so that when we're parenting, we can see our kids in the same and their feelings in the same way. That's the work of good family building. And I think that that's the piece that like, but that's also easier said than done. You know, I think like the hard thing, and this is, we can move it a little bit into, you know, the topic of later in life recoupling here. I think that like, you know, parents, we often live under the illusion that when our kids get to a certain age, we're kind of done parenting. You know, I think there's the idea that like, and for some people, it's the second they leave for college, we're done. You're on your own. For some people, it's when they graduate from college, or for some people, it's when their kids get married. Well, certainly they're fine. They're adults. They're doing their life. We don't have to like parent them. And it's like true. You're not responsible for parenting them in the traditional sense, but that doesn't mean that like your kids who saw you and still see you as their primary attachment, that somehow goes away. Right. You know, and I think that if I could say anything, not that your demographic, I don't think is people 50 and over, but man, if I could, and I do with clients, if I could say anything to people over the age of 50, it's, hey, you are still called into parenting, but in a different way. And what would it be like for you to be open to that? I mean, divorce in the United States is down overall.
Really?
Except, yes, it is. Yes, it is. except among couples ages 50 and over. And that rate of divorce is steeply increasing. Yes.
Really?
Yes. So
interesting. So, okay, one step back. Let me wrap my head around that data, because I love that little data. So overall, divorce is down, like as a whole. So maybe people that are younger that maybe were getting divorced more often are not getting divorced in that younger phase, but in the older phase of life, 50 and up, is increased. Damn. I mean, I gotta be honest, that makes me feel better that like my family isn't all that unique.
Yeah, your parents are very much in the norm.
Damn.
Right? Of people that decided.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because I think that social frameworks and expectations are really different than they used to be. I mean, the idea, and if you think about it, like your parents' a lot of women like were not working. They didn't have their careers. They didn't really have the viability to be financially independent.
Right.
And it was socially frowned upon to be a spinster woman at 50 who is not married and doesn't have kids.
Fair point.
Or is divorced, right? I mean,
yeah.
Divorce used to be like this just like ugly word.
Right.
Not that it isn't, because I can tell you, like, there's still stigma around being a divorced person.
Yeah.
But it's so much different than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So the rates among people ages 50 and over who are getting divorced have risen steeply, which also means that those people are then recoupling. And we are just now starting to have some pretty good research. My mentor, she's just an expert in her field and a brilliant mind in the area of blended family research, Patricia Papernow. She's done some great work around what we call gray divorce and gray recoupling.
And like gray hair.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it.
And it's this whole, mantra that people 50 and over have, which is like, the kids are gone, the dog's dead. Let's pair up. Like, what could go wrong? We're in love. Like, isn't everybody just going to be happy for us? And everything's going to be okay. And the truth is, it's not. And not to like, throw another little cherry bomb into our virtual room together, but the most fraught subgroup of like relationships that are being impacted in this gray recoupling are over 50 dads and their adult daughters.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was getting on this morning for you to just railroad me with my own life.
No, it's true. These are difficult relationships. And what we also know from some of the emerging research around this is that before successful blending can really happen between those family members, repair between a father and daughter has to happen first.
And it's so, man, it just like, as the human that's in it, like this is my family right now, right? Like my parents split up. Well, they've been splitting up for the last 5 years, started in the pandemic, and they, like, I would say officially split up like after my wedding last year. It was great. Yeah, no, wedding year, really awesome. With family drama, really loved it. It was everything I wished for. And God, and you heard all of it. You continue to hear all of it. It is, I feel like every week there's a new thing that happens. And my dad is, found someone else, and he's very happy. They are both very happy. And yeah, it's like really hard and really messy. And it just feels like, I just keep saying my sentiment is like, I'm just so tired. Because and you speaking to the grief and the losses really hits. And I think that really encapsulates actually what I'm tired from. And it is for the last 5 years, the onslaught of continued losses, because it has just that, you really nailed it there. And And it sucks. And I think it's weird when I think about being a young kid and seeing your parents split up. I know this is not true, but there's like a little bit of jealousy there, I think, because there's a little like, I don't know how to say it, nativity, like naivete. Right. Like you don't maybe know, all have the insight into how messy it actually is. Yes. And whereas like I can sit now, especially being a therapist, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, I know, like I could probably lay out like why my parents split up, exactly the dynamics. I can see the dynamics. I grew up with the dynamics. I know all of that. I know where things have gone wrong. I know also way more than I should about my like parents' relationship and them splitting up.
Also, I'm just gonna like put in there, I'm sorry, like let me just say what I think like needs to be said. Kids never deserve to know all of the nasty bits of why their parents' marriage didn't work and all the nasty bits around how the divorce happened. There's a very common misconception that when the kids get to a certain age, they deserve to know, or, oh, we're getting divorced and my kids are adults, so like they are capable of knowing, I want to share. And the truth is, there's been a lot of qualitative research, like interviewing adult children of divorce, and all of them say with a resounding voice, we don't want to know. We do not actually benefit at all from knowing your truth, mom, or your truth, dad, around why your former spouse, like my parent, was no good, not a great spouse, let me down, let you down. They don't want to know any of it, because it is truly like they are aware, like this, why is this my burden? And I think I understand with a lot of empathy why parents feel the need to talk about it. Like why we want to be able to tell our adult children certain things. You know, have I been absolutely immaculate and flawless and without blame and like saying nothing disparaging or critical about my former spouse? No. I have said things at certain times, and do I regret it? Yes. I'm so glad that there are many, many, many things that I have never and will never share, because these are not things that my kids ever need to know. Right. But I think there is something in particular, like damaging and hard and grieving of holding a lot of knowledge around like your parents' brokenness. You know, and I see plenty of adult clients who have to work through processing that. And I would say, like, you know, if you are a person who's listening to this, who is a kid of divorce, either from, you know, when you were younger, or your parents have split up in your, you know, young adult years or adult years, like, this is the grief that you're feeling is appropriate and natural, and it needs some kind of place to go, and it deserves like tender care and attention, because it's really real. And processing that grief really at the end of the day is going to help you figure out how to come into relationship with your parents as an adult from a place of like honesty and connection and vulnerability again, you know, because those are, you know, that's how good relationships work. Right? But we figuring out what to do and how to hold that grief is everyone's challenge.
And it's so hard. I totally agree with the sentiment. And I now have like set my own boundaries, because I think the other thing is like
boundaries, because that is certainly part of working through this grief process. Yes.
Because I thought I wanted to know.
Yes.
And then now I've realized I actually don't.
It's like when someone's like, hey, you want to see the video of my knee surgery? And part of you is like, I kind of want to see how that works. And then all of a sudden they show you, like my mom shows me the video, and I'm like, oh God, why did I ask for this? This was full of folly.
No, I have to shout out my partner. I have to shout out Josh, because like he knows more than I do now. And there will be times where I'm like, I'll kind of be like, tell me, like, what's the tea? And he's like, nope, you don't want to know. We've talked about this. And I just really appreciate him that he's like helped me also set boundaries of being like, no, you don't want to know. You don't need to know. Okay, boundaries. Why, talk to me more about boundaries. Why are boundaries so important in the grief work around blended families?
Well, I think they're important because, you know, if grief, we still want to work on being relational, right? I mean, grief is an internal process, like all feelings are. And then it's the idea of like, you know, I do a lot of internal boundary work with my clients in the therapeutic realm. You know, we don't want to show up as either boundaryless or walled off. Somewhere in the middle is a great place to be. If we are boundaryless, we're connected, but we're not protected. And that's what I think you're speaking to in those moments when you're like, I want to know though, right?
Oh, we're connected, but we're not protected.
If we are walled off,
put that on a goddamn t-shirt.
It's been done. These are not my original thoughts. This is Terry Real, Relational Life Therapy.
Oh yes, you love.
I'm a big
you're
time.
Obsessed.
Yes, I'm lightly my like intellectual brain crush is Terry Real. Terry, if you're listening, you're old enough to be my father, maybe my grandfather. I still think.
Okay, well that's a different kind of kink.
So if we're boundaryless, we're connected, but we're not protected. If we're walled off, we're protected, but we're not connected. So if I am experiencing a grief process, you know, what does it look like to ride that middle, like the center of health, being relational, right? And we don't need to be grandiose about it. You know, how dare you tell me these things about my dad? Like, what's wrong with you, right? Like, we don't need to take that posture. And we don't need to take a shameful posture either about having the feelings of being angry at our mom for saying something inappropriate about our dad, right?
Right.
In the same way, so it's like, okay, grief around like dad and new partner or parent and new partner. You know, I think riding that middle of neither boundaryless nor walled off, but expressing grief is like, I'm so glad you're happy. Dad, like it does in some ways, like make me happy to see that you are like relaxed and open and laughing for the first time in a really long time. And, I can't help it, but it brings up like feelings of loss.
Yeah.
For me. Like speaking to that is really powerful. And we don't send that in a text. We don't send that in some kind of weird flaming arrow email. Like, you know, we create moments of connection with our parents or, you know, and talk. Yeah. Because it's giving them the opportunity to then like really understand you and show up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's terrifying as the person that has done this, with my dad in the car on the way to go skiing and like saying all this, it was terrifying. Also one of the most like healing things to be able to name that and like have him not lose a shit about it. And just like, what I mean by that is just be like, what you did around like the, you know, college thing and like not having to move her stuff. Like he was just like, yeah, that's got to be really hard.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it
doesn't mean that we're changing anything. No. You know, it's hard for me when I see you like choosing to sit with her on the couch and instead of me on the couch. We used to sit together on the couch. Maybe this more applies to like younger kids or whatever. Yeah. And like, maybe that's a good piece of information. Maybe that changes the dynamic. Maybe it doesn't change, but it's acknowledging the deep feelings that are connected there. Yeah. Without shame. Yeah. You know, you know, the healing over time really does happen. I think that like the presence of grief does not mean that like moving forward and healing is also not happening. They're not mutually exclusive. Yeah. Both can be happening at the same time. And I think that's the thing that like we as parents can also acknowledge that like our kids are moving through a grief process, but that doesn't mean that like we're also not blending well or healing our families together.
Such a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good point.
And it just takes time. I mean, you know, for you, you're in a position where like this is still a pretty new relationship for your dad, right? So who knows what's even going to happen there. But in general, blending takes like 2 to 7 years.
Holy fuck. Serious? God damn it.
Yes. And
Alex,
you know, like,
that's so long.
It is a long
I'm tired.
I know.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say.
It's fine.
I'm going to scoop you up off the floor of your office now.
It's fine.
But that, again, that doesn't mean that like within that process, there aren't moments of joy and fun and connectedness. It's not like 7 fraught years.
Yeah.
And we're 5 years in, and like we have lots of great moments and lots of difficult moments. One doesn't negate the other. It's just the acceptance, you know, I think, and I know we're trying to like wrap this up here. Like, you know, a lot of people used to, when we talk about blending, they would think about like, oh, like making a smoothie and sticking like blueberries and yogurt and bananas in a blender and just like, oh, and now it's all this uniform thing. And really it's not. No, it's not at all. It's more crock potty, if anything, like a slow cooker situation where you've got like lots of different ingredients that like when you put them all together, don't really necessarily make good sense together. And as they sit and meld and flavors combine, like it is something different, you know, but each piece and component is still very much there. And so I think like, that's how like, you know, just kind of keeping that as cheesy a metaphor as that is in our minds is like a coping skill around making room for grief, even though, and making room for whatever joy may also come.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So I want some like tangible nuggets. I want a tangible nugget for how parents can make space for grief in a blended family. And then I want tangible nugget for kid of a blended family and how they can make space for grief.
Mm-hmm. So I think tangible nugget for parents is acknowledging that your joy and hope and excitement in this new relationship also represents a series of losses for your kids. And those losses are real. They're not going anywhere. And the route to good, secure, comfortable, blended family dynamic is fully acknowledging those losses to yourself and very much to your kids and making room for those. Like if you don't acknowledge those losses, the odds that your kids are going to form good bonds with their new step parent are much lower. So that it's the idea of like slowing down and sitting in it to actually get ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love.
Mm-hmm. And then I would say the nugget for kids is it is not your job to make your parents happy just because they're happy. You know, you do not have to be a different kid and put on a mask of awesome if you're not feeling awesome. And I think the challenge is to find a way to express what you're feeling and express what you need. Maybe you don't 100% know what you need. And maybe that's okay to say to your parents too. Yeah. But to figure out a way to bring that honestly, preferably in a way that isn't acting out, right? I mean, we fully expect, and it's pretty normal for like little kids are going to act out. They're going to say shit like, "You're not my mom," or like, "You're not my real dad."
But like, I probably shouldn't do that as a 30-year-old.
I mean, I think that what adults do is throw like little adult temper tantrums and basically speak that with their actions of like, "You're not my real mom. Like, why is she here? Why is she at dinner tonight? This is my birthday," right? Like, So it's the idea of like, if you're an adult child, ask yourself, am I throwing an adult temper tantrum through passive aggression or outright aggressive behavior? If the answer to either one of those is yes, let's bring it back in. Bring it back in. Talk it through with someone you trust. Bring it to your parent if you can. But again, really the nugget is like, it is not your job to make your parent happy and to be a kid who is perpetually happy with the new formation of the family.
Yeah.
You are also in process.
Damn. That shit's deep. Fuck, this was quite the way to start my day. I gotta be real. I'm like, I need a full like journaling session, debrief. My therapist is on maternity leave and I really need her to come back right now. Here we are. Well, this was so freaking fun though.
Happy hour is always around the corner.
Thank God. Okay, so then always my final question is like, you're doing such beautiful, incredible work. How can we support your mission?
Well, if people are interested in support and resources and community around divorce, dating, recoupling, blended family life, you can find these things at my website, which is www.justkeepitgoin, no G at the end, going.com. And my Instagram handle is at justkeepitgoin. And you can always reach out to me for coaching, join the community on the socials. I'm kind of just at the beginning of starting to offer some coaching groups in the next couple of months. So hearing from people as to what kind of resources and support they're interested in is always really helpful. But mostly I'm here to talk and we're all here to learn. So yeah, let's do it together.
Ain't that the truth? Fuck yeah. Love it. We'll link all the things, but you're awesome. I love you and I'm grateful for you.
Right back at you. This was fun.
Yay. Whew. All right. Well, that was a lot. I know I say this often, but I really like when I'm sitting with these humans, I'm really applying it to myself as well. And yeah, this one hit really, really, really close to home, as you guys can tell. So really good thoughts, really good advice. I mean, I know I'm biased. This is like one of my really good friends that I work with and I just adore her, but really good nuggets in there. You know, if you're feeling like you're in a blended family and we maybe need to talk about it more, maybe send this episode to them. No context. Is that passive aggressive? I don't know. Think about it. Figure it out later. Anyways, we'll be back on Friday with the Real Feels hotline. We're excited and excited to hear your thoughts on our question of the week. So here's our question. Text us, comment, whatever, and maybe we'll talk about it on Friday. What part of your family story have you been grieving in silence? And what might shift if you finally named that loss out loud? Thanks, crew. See you on Friday.